Breaking: Becky Lynch's career is over. WWE forced to strip the man of her title after career-ending injury. I am absolutely devastated right now, and I need you to hear this because what I'm about to tell you is going to shake the entire wrestling world to its core. Becky Lynch, the man, one of the greatest women's wrestlers in WWE history, the woman who main event WrestleMania, the face of women's wrestling for the past several years, is being forced to relinquish her championship due to a horrible, potentially career-ending injury that happened during her last match. And here's what's making me absolutely furious right now, and I want you to tell me if you feel the same rage I'm feeling. This injury was completely preventable. The match should have been stopped. The referee should have called it. WWE should have protected their biggest female star. And now Becky Lynch's career might be over because someone dropped the ball. But I need to know from you right now in the comments, are you as angry as I am about how this was handled? Do you think WWE failed Becky Lynch? Or am I overreacting to what might just be an unfortunate accident that's part of the risk of professional wrestling? Tell me right now, because what I'm about to reveal about Becky's injury, the circumstances surrounding it, and what this means for WWE's women's division is going to make your blood boil. Let me start by breaking down exactly what happened in that match because the details are absolutely horrifying and they explain why WWE has no choice but to strip Becky of her title immediately. According to multiple sources who were backstage at the event and medical personnel who treated Becky immediately after the match, Becky Lynch suffered what's being described as a catastrophic injury to her shoulder and neck area. We're not talking about a simple strain or a minor injury that needs a few weeks of rest. We're talking about potential nerve damage, possible ligament tears, and injuries that typically require extensive surgery and months, if not years, of rehabilitation. The injury occurred during what should have been a routine spot in the match. Becky was executing a maneuver that she's done literally thousands of times throughout her career. But something went horribly wrong. Whether it was miscommunication with her opponent, a slight misstep, or just a freak accident, Becky landed awkwardly and immediately grabbed her shoulder and neck area. And here's where this story gets absolutely infuriating. Becky tried to continue the match. Because that's who Becky Lynch is. She's a warrior. She's the man. She doesn't quit. She doesn't give up. Even with what we now know was a serious injury, Becky attempted to finish the match and deliver for the fans who paid to see her perform. But everyone watching could tell something was wrong. Becky's arm was hanging limply at her side. Her facial expression showed genuine pain, not the worked pain that wrestlers sell during matches. Her opponent clearly didn't know what to do and kept looking to the referee for guidance. And the referee? The referee did nothing. The match continued for several more minutes with Becky clearly injured and in agony. That's unacceptable. That's negligent. That's a failure of WWE's protocols and safety measures that are supposed to protect their performers. Here's my first question for you, and I want honest answers in the comments. Do you think WWE referees need better training on when to stop matches due to injury? Should they have more authority to call off matches even if it ruins the planned finish? Let me tell you what happened after the match because this is where the severity of Becky's injury became undeniably clear to everyone involved. Becky couldn't raise her arm. She couldn't lift the championship belt with her injured arm. She needed assistance walking to the back because the pain was affecting her ability to move normally. Medical personnel immediately surrounded her the moment she got through the curtain. Backstage, WWE's medical team conducted an initial evaluation and their faces reportedly went pale. Whatever they saw or felt during that examination made them realize this was serious. Becky was immediately taken to a local medical facility for X-rays, MRIs, and a full evaluation by specialists. The results came back and they were devastating. While WWE hasn't released official medical details due to privacy concerns, sources close to the situation are describing injuries that typically end careers or require 12 to 18 months of recovery minimum. We're talking about the kind of injuries that ended Edge's career the first time. The kind that forced Daniel Bryan into retirement for years. The kind that permanently changed the trajectory of countless wrestlers' lives. Becky Lynch, at just 37 years old and still in the prime of her career, is facing the possibility that she may never wrestle again. And even if she does eventually return, she might never be the same performer who main event WrestleMania and carried the women's division on her shoulders. Let me ask you something personal. What's your favorite Becky Lynch moment? Drop it in the comments because we might be talking about her career in past tense now, and I think we all need to take a moment to appreciate what she's given us. Now let's talk about the championship situation because this is where WWE finds itself in an impossible position. Becky Lynch currently holds a major championship. She's the champion. She's at the top of her division. But she physically cannot compete. She cannot defend the title. And based on the medical reports, she won't be able to defend it for a very long time, if ever. WWE's championship rules are clear. If you cannot compete and defend your title within a reasonable time frame, you must relinquish the championship. It's a rule that exists for good reason to keep the titles active, to keep feuds moving forward, and to ensure that championships feel important and regularly defended. But applying that rule to Becky Lynch in this situation feels absolutely heartbreaking. Becky earned that championship. She fought for it. She deserved to lose it in the ring, on her terms, in a match that meant something. Not like this. Not stripped of the title due to injury while lying in a hospital bed wondering if her career is over. According to my sources within WWE, the decision to strip Becky of the title was not made lightly. There were meetings. There were discussions about every possible alternative. Could they hold the title for her? Could they do an angle where someone injures her to explain the absence? Could they create a storyline that keeps the title on her even while she's out? But ultimately, WWE management made the call. Becky Lynch will be required to relinquish her championship on the next episode of Raw or SmackDown, depending on which title she holds. She'll come out, if she's physically able, and give a speech explaining that she can no longer compete and must give up the title. And then WWE will announce a tournament or match to crown a new champion, and Becky Lynch's incredible title reign will end not with a memorable match or a passing the torch moment, but with an injury and a forced relinquishment. If you were WWE management, what would you do in this situation? Would you strip Becky of the title immediately, or would you try to find a way to keep it on her? Let me know in the comments. Let's discuss what this means for WWE's women's division because the ramifications are absolutely massive. Becky Lynch has been the cornerstone of WWE's women's division for years. When Becky is on the show, everything revolves around her. She's the biggest draw. She's the most over with fans. She's the one who consistently delivers in big matches and big moments. Removing Becky from the equation creates a massive void. Yes, WWE has other talented women. Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Bayley, and others are all incredible performers who can carry the division. But none of them have Becky's combination of fan connection, mainstream appeal, and proven ability to be the face of women's wrestling. WWE now faces the challenge of elevating someone to fill that void. Who becomes the next Becky Lynch? Who becomes the woman that the entire division revolves around? That's not an easy question to answer because Becky's rise was organic. Fans chose Becky. They connected with her authenticity, her journey, her character. You can't manufacture that connection artificially. Charlotte Flair is the obvious choice from a pedigree and accomplishment standpoint, but Charlotte has heat with some fans who see her as being pushed too hard. Rhea Ripley has incredible momentum right now and could absolutely be positioned as the new top star. Bianca Belair has the athleticism, the look, and the charisma to carry the division. Bayley is a veteran who has reinvented herself multiple times and could step up. But all of them stepping up means WWE has to completely restructure their women's division planning. Storylines that were built around Becky need to be rewritten. Feuds that were planned with Becky at the center need to be reimagined. The entire creative direction of the women's division needs to shift. And they have to do all of this quickly, without the luxury of months of build and preparation. Becky's injury is forcing WWE's hand right now. Who do you think should be positioned as the new face of WWE's women's division with Becky out? Charlotte? Rhea? Bianca? Someone else? Tell me in the comments. Now I want to address the elephant in the room, the wrestler who was in the ring with Becky when this injury occurred. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to start a witch hunt. Accidents happen in professional wrestling. This is a physical, dangerous business where injuries occur despite everyone's best efforts to work safely. But the wrestling community and fans are absolutely going to scrutinize every moment of that match to figure out if someone was at fault. Was Becky's opponent too stiff? Did they botch a move? Did they not protect Becky properly? Or was this truly just a freak accident where everything was done correctly but physics and bad luck resulted in injury? The answer to those questions will determine how the wrestling community responds. If it was genuinely an accident with no fault, then we mourn Becky's injury and move forward. But if someone was reckless or negligent, there will be consequences. There will be backlash. There will be calls for that wrestler to be held accountable. What I do know is that the wrestler who was in the ring with Becky is reportedly devastated. According to backstage reports, they were crying uncontrollably after the match. They've been in contact with Becky, apologizing even if it wasn't their fault. They understand that their career is now going to be linked with this moment, and that's a heavy burden to carry. I feel for both of them. Becky is facing a potential career-ending injury. Her opponent is facing the possibility of being blamed for ending the career of one of wrestling's biggest stars. There are no winners in this situation. Here's a difficult question: if you were the wrestler in the ring with Becky when she got injured, how would you handle the guilt and the potential backlash, even if it was just an accident? Comment your thoughts. Let's talk about Becky Lynch's legacy because regardless of what happens next, Becky has already secured her place as one of the all-time greats. Becky Lynch started in WWE as a relatively unknown Irish wrestler with a gimmick that wasn't connecting with fans. She was part of a stable that went nowhere. She was positioned as a supporting player in the women's division, never the star. But something changed. Becky tapped into something real and authentic. She became the man and suddenly she wasn't just a wrestler, she was a movement. Fans rallied behind her in a way that caught WWE completely off guard. Becky's organic rise to stardom is a testament to her talent, charisma, and the connection she built with audiences. Becky main event WrestleMania 35 and the first ever women's main event of the Showcase of the Immortals. She won both the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships in that match, becoming the first ever double women's champion. That WrestleMania moment was historic and it legitimized women's wrestling in WWE in a way that nothing else could have. Beyond that singular moment, Becky has consistently delivered incredible matches and memorable feuds. Her rivalry with Charlotte Flair gave us some of the best women's matches in WWE history. Her feud with Ronda Rousey brought mainstream attention to women's wrestling. Her championship reigns have been meaningful and impactful. Becky also became a mother during her career, took time off for pregnancy, and then returned at SummerSlam in an incredible moment that reminded everyone why she's special. She balanced being a mother and being a top WWE performer, inspiring countless fans who saw themselves in her journey. If Becky Lynch never wrestles another match, she's still a first-ballot WWE Hall of Famer. She's still one of the most important female wrestlers of all time. She's still the man. But it would be tragic if this is how her career ends. Not on her terms. Not with a final match that celebrates everything she's accomplished, but with an injury that forces her out prematurely. Quick question, do you think Becky Lynch is already a Hall of Famer based on what she's accomplished, or does she need more before she retires? Let me know. Now let's discuss the tournament or match that WWE will likely announce to crown a new champion after Becky relinquishes the title. WWE loves tournaments. They're a great way to involve multiple wrestlers, create exciting matches, and build toward a new champion in a way that feels earned. I expect WWE to announce an 8-woman or 16-woman tournament with the finals happening at the next premium live event. This tournament becomes incredibly important because it not only crowns a new champion but also establishes the new hierarchy of the women's division. Who gets entered in the tournament tells us who WWE sees as important. Who advances tells us who WWE is high on. And who wins tells us who WWE is positioning as the next top star. My prediction? WWE will stack this tournament with established stars and rising talents. You'll have Charlotte, Rhea, Bianca, and Bayley as the clear favorites. But you'll also have opportunities for women like Liv Morgan, Zoe Stark, Lyra Valkyria, or even returning stars to make a statement. The finals will likely be a dream match that WWE can promote heavily. Charlotte versus Rhea. Bianca versus Bayley. Something that feels big and important enough to justify the circumstances of the title change. But here's what concerns me, no matter who wins this tournament, there will always be an asterisk. They won the title because Becky got injured, not because they beat Becky in a match. That's not their fault, but it's reality. The new champion will have to work incredibly hard to establish their legitimacy and make fans forget that they inherited the title rather than truly earning it by defeating the previous champion. Who do you want to see win the tournament to crown a new champion? Give me your pick in the comments and explain why. Let's address Becky's potential return timeline because that's the question everyone wants answered. When, or if, will Becky Lynch be able to come back? Based on the severity of the injuries being reported, we're looking at a minimum of 12 months before Becky could even be medically cleared to begin training again. And that's best case scenario where surgery goes perfectly, rehabilitation proceeds without complications, and Becky's body responds well to treatment. Worst case scenario? Becky never wrestles again. The nerve damage or structural damage to her shoulder and neck is too severe. The risk of permanent disability if she takes another bump is too high. WWE's medical team refuses to clear her, and Becky is forced to retire at 37 years old with so much left to give. The most likely scenario is somewhere in between. Becky undergoes surgery in the next few weeks. She spends 6 to 9 months in intensive rehabilitation. She starts training again around the 1-year mark. And if everything goes well, she returns to WWE 15 to 18 months after the injury. But here's the reality that nobody wants to talk about. Even if Becky comes back, she might not be the same. Major shoulder and neck injuries change wrestlers. They lose some mobility. They can't do certain moves anymore. They have to adjust their style. They're not quite as explosive or dynamic as they were before. We've seen it happen to countless wrestlers throughout history. They return from major injuries and they're still good, but they're not the same. That slight decrease in ability, combined with being older and having lost time, means they're never quite able to recapture what they had before the injury. The thought of Becky Lynch returning as a diminished version of herself is heartbreaking, because part of what made Becky special was her intensity, her physicality, and her willingness to do whatever it took in the ring. If she can't wrestle that style anymore, what does a Becky Lynch match look like? Be honest, if Becky returns from this injury but can't perform at the same level she did before, would you rather she just stayed retired? This is a tough question, but I want to know what you think. Now I want to talk about WWE's responsibility to protect their performers because this injury should spark a larger conversation about wrestler safety. Professional wrestling is inherently dangerous. We all know that. Wrestlers put their bodies on the line every time they step in the ring. Injuries are inevitable. But that doesn't mean WWE shouldn't do everything possible to minimize risk and protect their talent. WWE has protocols. They have trained medical staff. They have referees who are supposed to recognize when someone is injured and stop matches. They have doctors who evaluate wrestlers before and after matches. On paper, WWE does a lot to prioritize safety. But when a match continues for several minutes after it's obvious that someone is seriously injured, something in that system failed. Either the referee didn't recognize the severity of the injury, or they recognized it but felt pressured to let the match continue to its planned finish, or there was miscommunication between the referee and the wrestler about whether the match should be stopped. Any of those scenarios is unacceptable. WWE needs to do better. Referees need to be empowered and trained to stop matches immediately when they suspect a serious injury. Wrestlers need to be given permission to call for stoppage without fear of being seen as weak or unprofessional. The predetermined finish of a wrestling match should never take priority over the health and safety of the performers. This isn't the first time we've seen a match continue despite obvious injury, and it won't be the last unless WWE makes systemic changes to how they handle these situations. Becky Lynch deserved better. She deserved to have that match stopped the moment she was injured. She deserved to have her health prioritized over the entertainment of the audience. And she deserved to not have to be a warrior and try to finish the match while seriously injured, because that's what WWE's culture has always encouraged. Do you think WWE does enough to protect wrestlers from injury, or do they need to make major changes to their safety protocols? Your opinion matters, so comment below. Let's also discuss the financial implications of losing Becky Lynch, because WWE is a business and Becky is one of their most valuable assets. Becky Lynch moves merchandise. Her t-shirts sell. Her action figures sell. She's a draw for ticket sales and television ratings. She has mainstream appeal that helps WWE attract casual fans and media attention. Losing Becky, even temporarily, impacts WWE's bottom line. WWE will have to adjust their marketing. They'll have to find new faces to feature in promotional materials. They'll have to hope that whoever replaces Becky as the top female star can generate similar levels of fan engagement and revenue. This also affects WWE's negotiations with sponsors and partners. Becky Lynch is someone WWE features when they're trying to sell the value of their women's division to corporate partners. Without Becky, that pitch becomes slightly less compelling. From a purely business perspective, WWE needed Becky healthy and working. Her injury is a financial loss that will take time to recover from, even if they successfully elevate someone else to fill her role. But here's what really matters: Becky Lynch is a human being, not just a business asset. Her health and well-being are more important than WWE's revenue or storylines. I hope WWE management never loses sight of that fact. The wrestling business has a long history of treating wrestlers as disposable commodities, of pushing them to work through injuries, of prioritizing short-term profits over long-term health. WWE has gotten better about this in recent years with their wellness policies and medical protocols, but there's always room for improvement. Becky deserves to be treated with respect, given all the time she needs to heal, and supported throughout her recovery process regardless of whether she ever wrestles again. That's the bare minimum WWE owes her after everything she's given them. Now let's talk about the emotional impact of this news on fans, because Becky Lynch means so much to so many people. Becky isn't just a wrestler to her fans. She's an inspiration. She's proof that hard work and authenticity can take you to the top even when the odds are stacked against you. She's representation for women who see themselves in her journey. She's a role model for people who struggle with self-doubt and imposter syndrome. When fans hear that Becky's career might be over due to injury, it hits hard. It's not just sadness about losing a favorite wrestler. It's grief for someone who represented something meaningful in their lives. Social media has been flooded with messages of support for Becky. Fans sharing their favorite memories. Wrestlers from WWE and other promotions posting tributes. Everyone in the wrestling community coming together to show love and appreciation for what Becky has given us. That outpouring of emotion demonstrates how special Becky is, how much she's meant to wrestling, how devastating this news is for everyone who cares about her. I know I'm not alone in hoping for the best possible outcome, hoping that the injury isn't as bad as initially feared, hoping that Becky makes a full recovery, hoping that she gets to come back and write the final chapters of her career on her own terms. But even if the worst happens and this is the end of Becky Lynch's in-ring career, we can take solace in everything she accomplished, in the memories she gave us, in the history she made, in the barriers she broke down, in the inspiration she provided to millions of fans around the world. Becky Lynch is the man, and nothing, not even a career-ending injury, can ever take that away from her. What's your message to Becky Lynch right now? Use the comments to send her your love, support, and favorite memories. Let's show Becky how much she means to all of us. As we wrap up this discussion, I want to emphasize that much of this situation is still developing. WWE hasn't made an official announcement yet. Becky hasn't publicly addressed the injury. We're working with the information available from backstage sources and reports. It's possible that the situation isn't quite as dire as it seems. Maybe the injury is serious but not career-ending. Maybe Becky's recovery timeline is shorter than feared. Maybe there's hope that we'll see the man back in a WWE ring sooner rather than later. But based on everything I'm hearing, WWE is preparing for the worst. They're preparing to strip Becky of her title. They're preparing to move forward without her for an extended period. They're preparing for the possibility that Becky Lynch's full-time in-ring career is over. This is one of the saddest days in recent WWE history. Becky Lynch deserved better than this. She deserved to go out on her terms, in her time, with a storybook ending to her incredible career. Instead, she might be forced out by injury, her title being taken from her, her career potentially ending in the most anticlimactic and heartbreaking way possible. I'm asking all of you watching this video to do a few things. First, share this video so that everyone in the wrestling community knows what's happening with Becky and can send their support. Second, leave a comment sharing your favorite Becky Lynch moment or what she means to you. And third, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates as this story develops. We're going to be covering every development in Becky's situation. We're going to be analyzing the tournament for a new champion. We're going to be discussing the future of WWE's women's division. And hopefully, eventually, we'll be celebrating Becky Lynch's return to the ring. But right now, all we can do is wait for official word from WWE, send our love and support to Becky, and hope for the best possible outcome in a terrible situation. Becky Lynch is the man. Today, tomorrow, and forever. No injury can ever change that. We love you, Becky. Get well soon.